Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. And look at that. We already have people jumping on live. Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Jen Potter. Is it Jen or Jennifer?
Jen is perfect.
Jen.
But Jen's good.
I love it. She is an entrepreneur, a speaker, and a business leader. She loves doing all the things and has no indication of slowing down. She is a mom of 3 beautiful children and a wife of 10 years. During her downtime, kidding, there is no downtime. She is a motivational speaker. She is currently promoting her book that she is finishing writing and getting stages. Overcoming a tough childhood, she aims to inspire others who want to continue to push to be the best version of themselves and live their best lives. She found her happiness when she stopped worrying about what other people thought and started thanking her past. Oh, I love that. Welcome, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, girl, me too. So a little bit of the backstory, Jen and I were playing with our lighting for like 10 minutes before getting on. And then I literally look at the clock and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm late. So for those of you that are already on live, thank you for being here and being patient with us if you were waiting for the clock to strike 00. But we are here and we are live. I want to ask Jen, what's the book?
So it actually was going to be just one book. And then a friend of mine who has written several books told me that I should be writing 3. So I recently decided to split it all up because I was kind of like at a standstill where I felt kind of lost. So it's a part of it is going to be my childhood. It's going to be about, where I am now and where I'm going. So there will be 3.
I love that. You don't have to tell us the titles, but do you already have like titles that you're working with?
I do. Yeah. So I have a pretty good idea what it's going to be. So yeah.
I love that. I have a book in the works and I have no idea what the title is. Like I'm so stuck on the title. I was talking to one of the girls in our community, Sierra, who is wonderful. We probably have,
I think that's who I'm meeting with, right?
Yes. Okay. Is it awesome? She's so cool. Anyways, we sat down for like 30 minutes going over and over and over. She had such great ideas, but I just can't like put my foot on the actual title. I have to like carve out some personal time to just I'm kind of like hoping I'm just flowing through my world and it's just going to like hit me.
It will.
But that doesn't happen. So
well, it's because the timing's not right yet. So like I've been stuck in like this limbo of not fully finishing it. And I started doing like this accountability challenge. So it's been forcing me to like really write more and get all my thoughts out. And while I started going through this challenge, you sent me an email going, I need to connect you with someone. And I'm like, whoa, this is weird. So I'm meeting with her tomorrow. So I'm super excited about that. Yes. And I was dying to tell you. So yeah, I'm really excited about that because I think it's going to push it forward.
Yes, I love that. You will love her. She's actually she did a like this live in-house workshop for our community a few months ago where she just took all the publishing questions, like anything you wanted to ask her. And I think we had like 7 women from the community who are all looking to write books. And they just got to ask her like anything they wanted to ask her to help them move forward in their journey. And so much awesome information that she gave us. Yeah, it was really cool. So I'm so excited. Our first conversation was filled with like so much stuff because both of us were just like, we're doing all the things, listen. And it was so cool. And it's so great to meet women who just are on that same path of just like doing all the things all the time, loving every minute of it, not letting anybody stop you, not letting anybody tell you that you're doing too much, and just continuing to just like expand and be big in our world. So I'm so excited to have you on and hear more. What I want to start with though, because we all have a past, we all have like stuff, right? Some of us look like we're so strong and we've just got so much going on. And people don't always recognize that we had shit, like we had stuff that we went through, whether it was big or whether it was small. So I want to ask, when you think of your journey, your whole journey that you've been on from beginning to where you are now, what would you say was like the story that changed your life, like the pivot? And then what did you learn?
So I think it was when I got older, kind of going through my life as, I'll say, like teenager to adult, when I realized what, can I swear, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. I know, I think we talked about this and I read it in the paperwork and I was like, wait, I dropped the F-bomb a lot. So, but let me just be respectful. So anyone who doesn't like the F-bomb, I won't apologize. I'll thank you for listening. But I had a really fucked up childhood and years of therapy, all of the things. And I felt like that was in my 20s, I felt like that was something that always held me back. I was always told I was going to be, I'm going to turn out like my mom. And, she is her own individual person, but she lives a lifestyle that I can't get on board with. She was an abuser and a drug addict when I was growing up. And, a lot of close family members were always like, you're going to turn out like your mom. And so as I started getting older, right, it's awesome to hear that all the time. You start to believe it. And even though I didn't believe it, I felt like I used that as a crutch when I was in my early 20s. And it wasn't until like I kind of went through some relationships that probably weren't the best relationships, but I started to realize that I was starting to fall into these patterns of, I was finding things that were familiar, right? Whether it was, a verbally abusive person because I was used to being abused. And, I started to see these patterns. And then I realized, I don't want this for myself. I want something different. I want to change my life. I want to go back to school. I don't want to be a statistic. There are so many things that I want to do in life and I want to change it. And, I started to recognize that and, finish my degree, went back and worked. And then I got, to my early 30s and I was like, I want to own a business, but I don't want it to fail. And I, started doing all the things to kind of help me learn how to be a business leader. And it wasn't until recently, I'll say this is very recently, in my own, like I teach masterminds, but I'm in my own mastermind. I have mentors that help, push me outside of everything I do. And I was talking one day and I'm like, I always talk about all of these things and I'm all over the place. Like I have severe ADHD, like I'm crazy. And he's like, what is it that you really want to focus on? I'm like, I don't know. I want to help people succeed. Like I would always, like, it's cliche, I would help other people find their purpose. And he's like, that sounds so lame. And I'm like, no, but it's true. Right. But you need to hear this. I want to help people who are me. I want to help people who don't want to be a statistic to their environment. And when I accepted that, it really resonated with me. I want to help the people who think that their environment is going to, delegate where they're going to go someday, because that's not true. I mean, if that was the case, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I use that as like empowerment every single day, to get myself to the next level, to teach other people to get to the next level. So
I love that. One of the things that I would love to kind of touch a little bit more on and maybe even get your viewpoint on it is the thoughts or the point in your life where you were talking about people comparing you to your mother and saying that you were going to end up like your mother, and the impact now looking, right, hindsight's 2020, and you can now see it at like a totally different view than you even saw it back then. What is the damage that does to somebody?
Self-doubt all the time. Constant questioning, whether you're making the right decisions, I knew that that wasn't right. Like I knew that that wasn't what was going to happen, but it was, what if I fail? Like I used to have that mentality. It wasn't, I'm not going to fail, like fail forward. When I feel like I'm going to do something, I don't believe in failure. I actually truly got to a point in my life where if I fall flat on my face, it was a learning experience. What did I do? And what can I do better to just move on to the next step? And it put this fear of failure into my life. And it was almost as if like, if I do this, I'm going to fail and my whole life is over. But like in the grand scheme of things, we fail every day. It's, did we learn from it? And can we grow? So it's putting that fear inside of you. And it's kind of ironic because I was speaking at a conference this weekend and I posted this yesterday. So it's funny that we're saying this and I don't believe in coincidence. I have a bracelet on. It says fearless. And one of my best friends came to see me speak at a conference. She, is one of my biggest cheerleaders. She became my friend, by accident. And now she's the person I talk to every day. And while we were at the conference, she goes, I was buying myself a bracelet and I saw this and I had to buy it for you. And it says fearless on it because even the strongest people have fear. Even the strongest people have moments, but it's that reminder of why we need to be strong because it's not just for me. It's to help other people get out of that comfort zone, to become fearless, to, you're going to go get on every time I get on stage, or even before I talk to you, like we have conversations and they're normal. I'm like, oh, it's going to be recorded. I'm going to be so nervous. What am I nervous about? Just stopping and reminding myself why we're doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was just talking to a client right before this about confidence, courage, and fear, and how important it is to continue to step into that fear in order to continue to grow our courage. When do you remember a point in your life when you really started to step into that power or into that fear? Is there a
This year,
memory that you have where you were like, holy shit, I'm like doing stuff?
I think it was this year. So when I started working on my own personal growth, I obviously all of the things that I've been doing have been to help me grow, but I wasn't, I wasn't taking on a mentor myself, and I wasn't, learning new things. I'm learning new things all the time, but I am consciously listening to podcasts, consciously listening to other people like yourself, listening to your stories, learning from you, growing, retelling your story. And it was this year, and I turned 40 in April. And, some people are like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you talk about turning 40. I'm like, I am so excited because I feel that this has been my biggest growth moment and year so far because I'm accepting things. I don't believe in judgment, but I actually let that go. You could say, wow, I can't stand her. And I'd say, great. I don't like what you're doing. Okay, don't follow me. I posted a video on it yesterday and you said it right at the beginning. You're doing too many things. Great. Leave me the fuck alone. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm doing them because they make me happy. I'm doing them because they bring joy to my life. And when I let go of the judgment, when I let go of listening to what other people say, it changed my life, and then also changed my confidence. And I kid around with people all the time, but I mean it so sincerely. I am confident as fuck. Like I got to a point where, someone will say something and they're like, oh, wow, that's great. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I'm not being cocky. I own those things, right? Like, I feel like I have worked so hard to be an expert in the things that I do that I own what I do. But also if I'm wrong, I'm finally at that point where I'm like, you know what? Fuck, I'm wrong. And I'll admit it. And that is so hard for me. It's so hard for me to admit that I'm wrong. But I feel like that's also big growth.
Yes. On all counts, yes. When I first met my fiance, probably about 5 years ago now, one of the first kind of little tips that we got in was revolving around what you were saying about how you own stuff. Because I was walking around, I had just left a very abusive relationship. And I was working on my I am statements, and I was working on my power and my voice, and stepping into who I am authentically. And there was a lot of things that I said similar to what you're talking about there, where somebody says something and I'm like, yes, that was me. Yes, I did. Yes, I'm awesome. Yes, I know things. And the conversations that my fiance and I had to have around like, this is an ego. This is me like owning and being unapologetic for all that I have created and not feeling like I have to be humble, not feeling like I have to be small, because that's us stepping into leadership. How are we supposed to teach other women to step into their power if we can't step into our power? Somebody has to step into their power in order to be the example for it.
Absolutely. I agree with that in 110%. I'm actually also in a leadership cohort right now, and it's all of these things combining at this point in my life. I don't believe in a coincidence. Like, they're meant to happen, and it's changed the way that I approach things. It changes the way that we have conversations, and not apologizing for things that, are beyond our control. Like, do I believe in still apologizing for, being late? Absolutely, because that's on me and your time is valuable. But I won't apologize for swearing. I'll thank you for listening. I mean, unless it's from my kids, and but I try to get better at that. But there's a different approach to things, and I feel that once you start to own them, everything changes around you. I feel the way that I'm perceived, the way that I'm respected, like I'm a big person on boundaries. And when I talk on stages, I'm like, listen, after 5:00, like I don't typically respond to messages. And I'll have people reach out to me like the next morning, because they're like, oh, I wanted to message you after the conference, but I knew that you weren't going to respond back to me at 5:00. So I waited till the next morning. I'm like, sweet, people are listening to me. So
I love that.
Yeah,
so cool.
I love that.
There's women and men, there's humans that struggle with this. They struggle with stepping into their power. They struggle with finding courage, finding courageous acts, and finding confidence. When you started to dabble in this life of being bigger, what were the steps that you took? Like, what's some advice that you could give your personal journey of like what you did? You read a book? Did you get a mentor? Did you take a class? Did you listen to a podcast? Like, what were you doing? Tell us what you were doing.
Yeah, so all of those things. I started listening to some type of motivational podcast every single day. I started this a few years ago. Every morning when I wake up and I get ready, I take my cell phone and I actually put it on the mirror in the bathroom, and I turn it up loud enough that I can actually listen to it in the shower if the kids are awake. If not, I'll actually put an ear pod in my ear with a plastic head thing, so I can listen to the podcast while I'm getting ready. But I listen to something motivational every single day. And if it does not resonate or speak with me, I try to, listen, what can I get out of it? I write every day. And, I think I said it before, I'm doing something called the Champions 90, which was initiated by Success Champion Network, Donnie Bovine. And he started this, amazing networking group. He's my mentor along with Kevin Snow. And he said, these 5 things are accountable, these things that you should be doing every single day to help elevate you to the next level. And I recently added that into the things that I do. And it has made me so much more accountable. Having a mentor, having someone tell you, like when I was coming up with Epic 47, I'm like, I have this great story, right? I'm talking to my mentors in my mastermind where like, I know it's a safe space and I kid around about this now. And Kevin, one of my mentors, he's like, so tell me about your story. And I'm like, well, 47 is my favorite number. It was my sport number, and my birthday's in April. My favorite number is 7. He's like, time out. That sounds terrible. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? He's like, I don't like that story. He's like, it's not a good story. He's like, you're a serial entrepreneur. You want to do all the things. You want to motivate all the people. Like, that story does not speak to my soul. And so he tells me this story about, a company and how it was named. And, he goes, and it has blah, 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 46. And the 46, he goes, you know what that stands for? When I was deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan, and when, we had kill cards and they were the 46 people that needed to be found. And I looked at him, I'm like, fuck, I need to come up with a better story. Like, he said the compassion, and it was so compelling when he told me this story that I was like, wow, I need to up my game. So I really just sat, and that resonated with me, right? Like, someone who I respect, who is saying, you have all of the things, but your delivery sucks. And you need to change that. So it took a few weeks, and I was going for a walk. I was with the whole family, got the dog and everything. And I'm walking, and I'm like, I know what it is. And it's usually, those moments usually happen when I'm laying in bed at like 11:30 at night. I sit straight up and I'm like, I have an idea. But I was walking, and I was like, I know what I want to do. I want to own 47 companies by 2047. It's realistic. It's tangible. Like, it gives me a goal. And people are like, well, why do you want to own 47 businesses? I was like, well, because it's my favorite number, and it's a goal that I want to get to. But I want to be able to help people along the way obtain a goal and obtain a business that they would have never had the opportunity to do. I have right now my GM, who is so phenomenal. She helped me start the babysitting company. She literally runs my house cleaning company single-handedly. She's absolutely incredible. And, she is an example of me. She's just like me. She's very similar to me, statistic of her environment, like not sure how things are ever going to pan out. And, I met her when she was working at a bar. I taught yoga at this big bar. I had 100 people every time I taught, and she was a waitress, and we connected. And when I decided to start my company, she was the first person I called. And she's like, I'm like, hey, you looking for a job? And she's like, yeah, doing what? I'm like, want to be a nanny? And she's like, yeah, sure. She had no idea what she was getting into. It was for me, for my son. And she was the first person that I hired almost 2 days ago. It was 2 years ago. She has helped me to hire over 500 people in the past 2 years, helped me to launch all of my companies. And in 2023, she'll actually become a partner of my cleaning company. And it was through that idea that as I continue to grow businesses, that people that work with me, not for me, will have the opportunity to be able to become a partner in one of my businesses. So they are able to actually own something that they may have never had the opportunity to own.
Wow. I love that.
So I get all teary.
What's her name? Can we shout her out?
Yeah, absolutely. Lainey.
Oh, I love that.
She's so incredible. I tell her on a daily basis, I can't function without her. And she knows that. She is literally the right side of my body. And all my best friends know it too. She has become one of my best friends, but I'm like, just so you guys know, she is literally the other side of my body.
That is so cool. I definitely have people within my community that I've never even met, actually. But that comes into my mind, like once I really start hiring people, like these are, the top 2 or 3 women that I'm going to contact first. I totally know what you're talking about. And I love that you're taking what you're doing and you're expanding it into your world in order to empower and help other people.
Absolutely. And it helps them to grow. And when everyone goes, 47 just seems so unrealistic. It just seems, how are you going to manage all that? I'm not going to manage all of that. If you have a solid structure and you hire and obtain people who are fantastic at their job, I'm able to run all of my companies because I have a Lainey. And, as I continue to grow, like I actually already have someone put in place for the babysitting company as well. And she kind of already knows, but I haven't told her yet. But, as it's continuing to grow and evolve, every company that I have pillars of people who are fantastic at their job, that they don't deserve just a job. They deserve an opportunity. They deserve an ownership. And with ownership comes responsibility, because if we succeed, that's great. We're going to make you all the money. But if we don't succeed, just remember, we're going to lose the money too. So it's that accountability piece that really helps people to really own what they're doing. So not just actually own it, but own it internally as well. And it's a win-win for all of us, because I'm able to help continue to grow. Excuse me. But they are too. So
cool. Where did you get this entrepreneurial spirit? Did you get it from somebody?
So my dad, I love him so much, but he has like, I guess my dad, my grandfather, they on that side, they've always owned things, but, and I mean this in no disrespect to my dad, but like never actually kept a business going. My father is so intelligent and I feel like should be running all kinds of things, but you know, that just never panned out for him. And, you know, looking back in hindsight, I always said, what was it that he did that he could have done better to continue to run and own businesses? And maybe in his head, maybe he just never really wanted to own the businesses. Maybe he just wanted to run them. So like, I don't fully know, but you know, he always owned businesses. And so I was always kind of brought up around it. And even though they just never, you know, succeeded, he still always did it. And so like, I knew in the back of my mind that one, I am way too independent to work for other people. And, you know, I believe in systems and processes and like doing all the things. And when people don't do it, I'm like, and it can be done so much better. And when you work for someone else, that's not always taken well. So I'm like, what can I do to, you know, do things better and think outside the box? And I think my ADHD plays into factor with a lot of that. But when I started to do it, I'm like, I don't really know how to run a business. I owned a chocolate company making like cupcakes and chocolate, and that was really successful. But then I got diagnosed with, you know, some health things, and they're like, you can't have dairy or gluten anymore. So I'm like, well, let's table that one. And that was way before like all of these fancy like gluten-free recipes were out. So I didn't really know. But a few years ago, I knew I wanted to start this babysitting business, but in order to do it, I needed to learn how to run businesses. So prior to that, I started a t-shirt company, which ironically I'm not wearing today, and I wear it all the time. I started a inspirational apparel company for women. I mean, men totally too, but more so geared towards women, of being yourself. All of the shirts say be you, BEYOU. So Beautiful Collective is the name of the company. And I still do it, and I do it, you know, more passively. But I started that company to A, empower other people. B, teach myself to learn how to run a company. I went through a business accelerator program. It's called Entrepreneurship for All. I am a fan and cheerleader of this program. I mentor for it. I've been mentoring with them for 4 years after I did the program. But I went through this program, and it was a free program that taught me all of the things about business. Now, I have a lot of, you know, background with helping people in business, but it was never all given to me. And once I learned how to run a business, if you can learn how to run one business, you can run all the businesses, because the process is exactly the same. It's just a different, you know, a different demographic, a different, you know, target market. But once you start doing it, it came very natural to me. So I decided to start the t-shirt business, and I said, I'm going to make enough money to actually start the babysitting company. And it was this model that I self-created. I'm sure it exists somewhere else in the universe, but I decided to tell myself that if I can make this successful, I can make anything successful. So I took all the money that I made from that, and I started the babysitting company. And then once the babysitting company started getting bigger, I started a house cleaning company. And once the house cleaning company started getting bigger, I launched my consulting company. And then I said, wait, I think I'm onto something. I was able to start one business with $500 to turn it into now 4. And I have 2 more companies starting in 2023. So it was taking this idea of taking something from nothing, learning how to really like refine it, and then grow. So then now I want to teach other people and continue to teach people. I have consulting clients, but I also mentor and I pro bono like a lot of people. Someone comes to me and they're like, I need help, but I got no money. I'm like, that's not a problem. Let's have a conversation. I mean, I can't do it for everyone, but if I'm able to fit it into my schedule, how can I help other people do what I did in order to become successful? Like, I am a firm believer in collaboration. I don't believe in competition whatsoever. And I think that was, you mentioned growth and something that changed. I think when I let go of competition, I compete with myself. Like, I'm a competitive Spartan racer. I'm running the Boston Marathon in April, but I compete with myself more so than anything, and not one other person.
All right. That's one of the accolades that I get within the within my community, is the fact that I'm constantly promoting other coaches, like people who are somewhat competing with me for that same exact reason. It's like, I don't even see, and it's not like, oh, I'm so awesome, look at me. no competition. It's more so just, I know that the people that need to be working with me will find me. And my personality and the way that I teach and the way that I coach is different than the way every other woman or individual that I'm talking about is coaching. So the people who are attracted to that person will not necessarily be attracted to me as a mentor. So there is no, there is. And there's so much, like, people don't recognize. I was just talking to my son about this the other day. I was at Barnes and Nobles, which they're closing down Barnes and Nobles, but not all the way, but like a lot of them are closing. Yeah. So the one by us is closing. That's why I say it like that. But I'm always in the business section and money section. And so, and it's funny because my fiance is always in the fashion section.
That's awesome.
So anyways, I was in the magazine section and I was looking through Forbes, and the top 400 richest people in America came out. The new list came out. Elon Musk is number one.
Shocking.
Like 200 billion. He's like $100 billion richer than Jeff Bezos.
That's crazy.
Just insane. So those two are number two. But anyways, I was talking to my son. I came home and I was like, oh my God, saw the new list, blah, blah, blah. And I was just telling him some of the people that like he knows that I know or whatever. My son and I are both very business oriented. He's also an entrepreneur, so which I love. But we were talking about the difference between $1 million and $1 billion. And it's insane.
Yep.
Like, you know, I looked it up, you know, it's a thing that I've seen forever ago, but I showed it to him, you know, the $1 million is like this big. It's like a picture. And it's like the $1 million is like this big. And then the $1 billion is like this big on like the same platform. It's just ridiculous. Like, people put million and billion together. They're nowhere close to each other. Nope. And there's like billions of billions. Like, Elon Musk is worth 200 billions. Like, there's so much money. Like, there's so much available to us.
Right.
That there is no reason to have a mindset of lack or of not enough.
Because he knows he's not in competition with anybody.
Yeah.
And you know, same thing with Jeff Bezos. Like, I know I'm not in competition with anyone. Like, he had an idea and he went with it. And I think it's that mindset of, I'm just going to go for it and kind of see what happens. Will I ever be worth $1 billion? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, financial freedom is, you know, the main thing that I always focus on, but we never know what our limits are.
Yeah.
And I think if we set limitations, that's when we get kind of stuck in, you know, this little bubble, but allowing ourselves to kind of, you know, be outside of that realm. And, you know, I give this advice all the time, and I tell people, do not listen to anybody else's advice. That's always my first word of advice. But if you are still listening, I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. And, you know, this isn't, you know, actual business advice. However, if you own a business in the United States and you go bankrupt today, in 24 hours, you can take out a new EIN number and you can start a brand new business tomorrow. Where else can you do that? I can go bankrupt today. I can start a new business tomorrow. What is the worst that can happen? If I don't go to jail, I can start another business tomorrow. And while that is not, you know, giving sound business advice, it's, if you think about that, it's saying, what's the worst that can happen? I can fail miserably, but I can pick up and I can start over tomorrow. Yeah. And if the universe tells me I have another day and I wake up and I say, thank goodness I'm alive, you know, you have that opportunity. I had a heart attack 3.5 years ago. And that was, you know, it's funny because you were like, what is that moment in your life? I'm like, all these other things. No, I had a heart attack. That was that moment actually, that I always tend to forget about. But every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm alive. This is a new opportunity to do something I didn't do yesterday. I have all of this precious time that I can use to my advantage, or I can waste it because I don't know, tomorrow's not promised, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things also to kind of go along with that, you know, nothing's promised, is the thought process of which is what you were also saying, there's nothing to lose. Like you can just pick up and just start again. And I kind of feel, what's your thought process on that as far as women versus men? And the knowing that failure isn't an issue, or you can just start again. Do you feel like in the female environment, we put more pressure on ourselves than men do? Like, what's the difference? Because in that Forbes, they have on there self-made versus not self-made.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, both self-made. They had like a 9 or a 10 in the self-made category. It's like a 1 through 10. Very first female that I saw on that list was probably number like 26 or something.
Oh, wow.
The self-made radar on hers was a 1.
Wow.
So her money's from somebody else. I think it was one of Warren Buffett's children, or Sam Walton's children, the Walmart entity. And then there wasn't another woman again for like a really long time. So like, that is a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
In the women's mentality of collecting money, of getting money, of not being fearful. Do you see that within the female dynamic? Like, are we carrying that?
So I think that's a really great point. And, as I'm listening to you kind of talk about it and I'm trying to visualize it, and I can't wait to go to Barnes & Noble and actually go buy that because now I just really want to see it. And I'm so excited because it's breaking down, all of that together, right? Like really thinking about these guys who are self-made and the women that are on the list and how they got there. And I think, things are starting. I would like to think things are actually changing and progressing forward, and women are kind of progressing forward with the things that they're doing and that they want to do. Because I think for so long, like I talk to people who are maybe 10 to 15 years older than me. They're in their early 50s, mid 50s. And, they'll say, oh, when we were brought up, the kids were meant to do this and the women did this, this, and this. These women are only 15 years older than me. Like we're in the same like age group, and they were brought up in a place where kids are supposed to do this and women are supposed to do this and men are supposed to go out and make all the money. And it's in this like age group, and that we're trying to change all of that. I think men's natural reaction is we're supposed to be the breadwinners. We're supposed to make the money. We're supposed to, like, that was ingrained for years and years and years. And we're obviously trying to change that because in my head, I'm just like, I'm going to make my own money. I'm going to do this for me. If my husband and my kids are here for it, absolutely. But I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it for myself. And I'm doing it to change those things. And I can only hope that I can continue to have that same positive effect on other women and other people as they continue to grow. But I think like men are told that they can't fail. Men are told that they have to stay at a job because it makes a lot of money and they're going to work their way up the chain. So like these guys that are self-made already have it ingrained in their heads that they don't have a choice. Failure is not an option, where women may not necessarily feel that because failure is something that's scary, right? Like that thought of being scared. And it was a very successful man that gave the bankrupt analogy to me. He sat in front of me presenting and he's like, listen, folks, this is America. What's the worst that can happen? He's like, this is not, and just like what I said, this is not sound business advice. It is not business advice at all. But it changed my perspective. Yeah. I'm sitting here and he goes, I went bankrupt and this man is extremely successful. And he goes, because I was able to start over. And when you can actually accept that, the fear starts to go away. Is the stress always going to be there? Absolutely. Is the responsibility always going to be there? And it's also that leadership thing that you said, right? You brought up leadership before. We have to learn how to be leaders and own all of the things so we can teach other people to be leaders. Owning a business is meaning you have to take responsibility for everything. I own a cleaning company. I was scrubbing toilets when we started that company. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that the way that we were training our cleaners was the way that it was my standards. My reputation is on how we're cleaning that bathroom, as silly as that may sound, but that is how we're training. You know, when I started the babysitting company, I went out and I babysat. I have 3 kids of my own. I had a newborn when I started. Here I am babysitting other people. Why? Because I'm setting a precedence. So you have to be willing to take responsibility for all of the things. Somebody calls out, somebody quits, somebody doesn't like their job, something happens, a client's upset. You have to own all of that responsibility. But when you can learn to own it, and the way you delegate changes, the way that you handle things change. And I think it really changes your perspective.
Yeah, totally agree with that. In your journey, you know, through the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns, what would you say has been the number one lesson that you've learned about life?
Oh, that's a great one. I didn't see that on my pre-notes. No. I tried to take so many notes. Number one lesson that I learned, don't listen to anyone else's advice. And that's funny because that's the advice I give to everyone else. Don't listen to anybody else's advice, but listen to everything. And I think that if we can just take bits and pieces of what other people are doing and turn them into our own, it's going to help, you know, help us follow our own path. And, you know, someone also recently just said to me, always trust your gut. When you can truly trust your gut and your decisions that you are about to make, and you stand behind your own decision, you're never going to make the wrong decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And to tag along with that, I would add to ask a lot of questions.
All the time.
I ask so many questions. I ask questions that I already know the answer to.
Me too.
Just to get their perspective on it. It would drive my fiance crazy. He'd be like, why you sound like you don't know what you're talking about, because you're asking questions about things that like you should already know as a business owner. I'm like, yeah, I know, but they might know something that I don't know.
Yes.
And how am I supposed to figure that out and do better if I only stick with I already know what I know. I don't know what you know.
Right.
So, you know, people who are at different levels, people who are perpendicular, parallel, horizontal to me, as far as entrepreneurship, being a woman, reading, educating themselves, they have their own perspective of how they got to where they got to. And I want to know how that is.
Right.
So I am so curious all the time.
Same. And you have to be. And you said something that was so spot on. And I reuse this. I use this quote all the time. My friend Jen Rigo always says, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And it's so true, because the way that you handled a situation was because of your life experiences and the choices that you made. The way that I handle things are exactly the same way, but for completely different reasons. So we might have gotten to the same point, but we got there differently. Teach me how you got there. Teach me about what you did that I may do differently, so I can learn and I can teach someone else to do something differently. Because we said it before, we have, therapists and coaches and mentors. I surround myself with all of these amazing people and communities and podcasts because I'm always learning. I'm always growing. I don't know everything. I may be an expert in some of my fields, but that doesn't mean that I know everything. Every day I'm trying to learn something new. Every day.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to ask, speaking of don't take anyone else's advice, I want to ask some advice of you when, for females watching. First of all, thank you for those that are watching live. We so appreciate you being here. Those watching on the replay, if you could hashtag replay and just let us know where you're watching us at so we can send you some love, that would be awesome. But I want to ask, one of the biggest reasons why I started the community that I started, why I have this podcast, is frustration. So when I was in my darkest time, I was looking for stories of people who led similar lives to me that could give me encouragement that I can get out, that I can survive, that I can make it. And the only thing that I saw was a plethora of very, very wealthy people like Oprah, Barbara Cochran, Les Brown, who have already made it, that are comfortable sharing their story. And did they help me? Yes, 100%. I dove into all of these stories and they helped. But I found myself constantly searching powerful female speakers, powerful speakers, stories, powerful stories, inspirational stories. And over again, there was a plethora of men everywhere. And then this Forbes thing hit me. And there's just a plethora of men. And there's nothing wrong with this. But like, where are the women? Where are the women? Where are the women who are telling their stories? Where are the women that are getting onto stages? Where are the women who are coming onto podcasts and sharing the stories? Where are the women self-made billionaires? Like, where are they?
They're being modest, I hope.
But I'm dedicating
right.
a lot of what I do to creating a platform for myself, but also creating a platform for other women to rise. Like, that is my ultimate vision, is to create multi-million and billionaire women, like, in our lifetime. Like, I want to do that. Like, I am taking that on as a obligation.
So I'm going to change your wording a little bit. So
and I'm going to appreciate that. But my question is,
go ahead.
You can change my wording. You can change my wording. My question is, for the women who are scared, for the women that are playing small, for the women who are listening right now live and they're like, wow, something is actually percolated inside of me, but I'm scared. What should they do? What's the advice? What's the first step?
So first up, and this will go back to what I was going to change. You said, I want to do something. You don't want to do, you are doing.
Thank you.
So you have already created it and you're just getting it to the next level. And I'm watching you. And that's how we connected. There was, we met through a friend and I watched what you were doing and I'm like, oh my God, like, this woman is amazing. She needs to be my friend. She doesn't know it yet. And everything that you were doing just like resonated within me because you are doing something so much bigger than yourself. And I think for those women who are scared, it's letting go of that fear. We fear telling our story because we're scared of judgment. We're scared that someone's going to turn around and be like, oh, she went through that. Yeah, she's whatever. Like, I was beaten as a child. I was so scared to tell people that because I was so scared that they were going to judge me. And there's so much more of my past that I was so scared to let out that I'm writing about. That my husband was like, should you be talking about this? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not the only person that has gone through this. And it's so important to let other people know that they're not alone. So it's that moment of being, when you're scared, to just say, it's okay to let it go and let it out because there's so many other people that need to hear your story. When I heard your story and we talked for the first time, I cried. I have never been in your shoes, but listening to you tell your story as a person who's been through big T trauma, it resonated through my whole body because you got to a point in your life where you needed to let go of that fear of what you went through to allow a safe space for other women. And you're doing that. And I think it's not wanting or hoping, it's doing. And remembering when we're about to do something, oh, I really hope someday I can start my own business. No, I'm going to start my own business. I am doing this. Next year, in 365 days, this is where I'm going to be. And every day, 364 days, this is where I'm going to be. And it's getting to that point of ownership and letting go of fear. And it's not easy. And I can see it, but it took some serious time and a lot of work to get here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm loving the word ownership. I think that that's so important.
It is. And once you own it, there's nothing that's taking that away from you. Nothing. And if someone wants to say, whatever about my story, you know what? It's whatever. It didn't hit you. It didn't resonate with you. And that's totally okay.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you do so many things, but I would love, and you already kind of told us the lineage of it, but anything that you want to add on for those listening that want to connect with you, that want to follow you, join you, what do you do? Where can people find you? And how can people connect with you best?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is probably the easiest. I post on Instagram and Facebook on my, personal creator pages every single day. You get to see me talk about all of the things with life. I like to give non-advice every day and just where I'm at. But if you go to Jen_live your best life, that's my Instagram handle, or Jennifer Potter on Facebook. You can Google me. I pop right up all over the place. Can't forget this mug, but just reach out to me, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. Jenna@epic47.com is the fastest way to get a hold of me. But I love talking and connecting with people. LinkedIn is a big one too. That's how we got connected. You actually gave me the best idea a few months ago. So I'm going to tell everyone I did not steal it. I recreated it. You did this amazing shout out for me, 6 months ago. And you do it for all of the people that you meet. And I was like, this is so amazing. And I told you, I sent you a message. I'm like, I am totally repurposing this. And I started repurposing it. And I started what I call my hot list. And every week I literally make a list of every single person that I meet. If I go to a conference and I take pictures, I'm posting, resharing, and I started doing all of this, that every week somebody new is recreating it. And it is the best thing in the entire world, watching other people do the same thing, because we're giving the shout outs. We're telling people how amazing they are. Like every person I meet, I'm like, I have to meet them. They're so amazing. Someone reached out to me the other day. They're like, I heard about you through Sabrina. And I'm like, we're friends, and because the second you have that warm conversation, right? You want to meet that person, and you want to connect with them and see how they can connect with you and grow your community. So thank you.
Yes, girl. Yes. What is your Instagram again? Because I want to put it at the bottom here.
Instagram, JEN_live your best life.
Live your best life. Love it.
And I won't change it. I changed that a few years ago, and every day it's my reminder to live my best life every day.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What are your dreams for your business?
My dreams to continue to grow and evolve, continue to, be able to create stability and feasibility for other people within the community. Someday I want to own a capital investment firm, and with my actual hope, and dream, and it's going to actually happen someday, that I will be able to fund small business owners to allow them to create an opportunity for themselves that a bank may not give to them, that a financial, someone won't give them an opportunity, and to be able to help them grow and succeed.
What big dreams.
So it'll be fantastic. It'll be amazing. I started off with $500. And if I didn't have that $500 and someone gave me $500 if they knew in hindsight, if someone handed me $500 that I'd have everything that I have now, I can only imagine what the next 10 years are going to be like.
Yes. Yes. Why do you do what you do?
I do what I do because I don't want to be a statistic, but I also do it for my children. I want my children to have a legacy. I want them to always look back and look at their mom as someone who was told that she couldn't do something, someone who was told that you've had all of these obstacles in your way, and no matter what, I did it. I have a heart condition. I was told 10 years ago that I would never run another race. My cardiologist, a year after I ran the first Boston Marathon that I ran, I was told that I would probably never run long distance ever again. I'm training to run a marathon 10 years later, with the guidance of a personal trainer and, family and support, allowing me to be able to do this. I've ran so many Spartan races. I've done so many amazing things in the 10 years. And if I just stopped and listened to the doctor that said, you're not going to do this, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Wow.
Every day I tell myself, if I wake up, I'm going to be the best possible version of myself. I'm going to live my best life. I'm going through a heart flare up right now. You'd have no idea. I'm on all kinds of crazy medication. It will slow me down, but it won't stop me, because at the end of the day, today is the only day that I have promised, because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So I have to do all of the things that truly bring me joy every day.
Fantastic.
So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I so appreciate you. I appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate your energy.
I have lots of it.
Yes. And I so just women need to see women like you. They need to know that it's possible.
Absolutely. if we tell ourselves it's not possible, it's never going to happen. But if we tell ourselves it is it going to happen right in this moment? Maybe not. I'm going to be a millionaire. I know I'm going to be a millionaire. Am I a millionaire today? No, I am absolutely not a millionaire today. But that does not mean that it does not exist and it has not already happened in this universe. And you have to tell yourself, I am what I want to be. We write our own story and we're in control of it. You are a perfect example of it and you inspire me every day. So thank you for all you do. I appreciate you and you're making me cry.
Thank you.
So thank you.
For those of you watching live, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. For those of you watching on the replay, make sure that you hit us up and let us know. Please connect with Jen if she resonated with you. Be sure to connect. Her Instagram is here. Her website is here. And there's links in the description wherever you are watching that you can click on. We love to connect people here on this platform so that we can all continue to rise. Thank you so much for joining us today for this podcast. This community is expanding every single day and it's filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. If you have a story to share, hit me up at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. As always,